Hi all. Today we are going to deal with part 3 of section 149. Here we will be dealing from subsection 7 to subsection 13 of section 149. Earlier in the part 1 we had discussed from subsection 1 to subsection 5 of section 149, and in second part we dealt with defining of independent director, that is subsection 6 of section 149. Now we are going to do the third part. Subsection 7 of section 149 says every independent director must disclose his declaration of independence. First, in the case of board meeting in which he participates as a director, and second, first board meeting of every financial year. It is not current year, it is financial year. Also, he has to declare whenever there is change in circumstances which may affect his status of independence. So not only in the case of the first board meeting or the first board meeting of every financial year, whenever there is change in the status of independence as mentioned in subsection 6, anything mentioned gets affected, he will lose his independence. So he has to declare as and when there is change. Subsection 8 of section 149 says all independent directors should abide by Schedule 4. What is Schedule 4? We have already said it refers to the code of conduct. At least once we should all go through the code of conduct that is given. Subsection 9 of section 149 is a notwithstanding clause. The word notwithstanding is itself independent over other clauses of the section prevailed in the statute book. It is a non-obstinate clause. With the help of this clause, we can overcome the confusion arising by the provisions which is contrary. So that is the meaning of a notwithstanding clause. So what does it say? That is, an independent director is entitled to receive only three things. What are the three things? First is a sitting fees. Second is a reimbursement of expenses for attending the board meeting. And the third is profit related commission. He is not entitled to receive any stock option. No fixed remuneration or per month is not allowed. Section 10 of section 149 refers to the tenure of independent director. We have to refer according to the provisions of section 152 that deals with appointment of directors. The tenure of independent director says he can be appointed for first one term, that is, one term is up to 5 years. Up to 5 years, it does not mean that he has to be appointed for total 5 years. He can be appointed for 1 or 2 years, subject to a maximum of 5 years. Then secondly, he can be appointed for a second term. That would be again up to 5 years. But if he is going to be appointed for the second term, it has to be supported by a special resolution and it has to be disclosed in the board's report. Subsection 11 of section 149 is again a notwithstanding clause. It says that notwithstanding anything in subsection 10, no ID shall hold office for more than 2 consecutive terms. 2 consecutive means first he can be appointed for one term and second again for another term. After the second term, there should be a gap of minimum 3 years. The 3 years can be considered as a cooling off period. In this 3 years, ID will not be associated with the company directly or indirectly in any capacity. No relationship should be maintained with the company at all. For example, if a director is appointed for the first 2 years, second term again for 2 years, there should be a gap of 3 years. The maximum tenure of one term as specified earlier is 5 years. There is an explanation that is given. For the purpose of subsection 10 and 11, any tenure of an ID on the date of commencement of this act shall not be counted as a term. As of now, we can say that this explanation is redundant because more than a year has passed after the commencement of the act. Subsection 12 of section 149 is again a notwithstanding clause. It says that an ID, that is an independent director or non-executive director who is not a promoter or a KMP, shall be liable only in respect of such omission or commission by the company which occurred with his knowledge through board process or with his consent or connivance where he had not acted diligently. So we can see what a connivance is. Connivance is willingness to allow or to be secretly involved in an immoral or illegal act. As we have seen here, we have noted that a director has to act diligently. What does diligence mean? It means that he or she will have certain responsibilities as a director and that has to be fulfilled to the best capacity. It is an immunity clause. The director will only be punished for what he is liable for. And we have to also note that in case of an immunity clause, immunity will be awarded only to ignorance and not to negligence. There is a thin line of difference between ignorance and negligence. So we have to be careful regarding the same. Subsection 13 of section 149. Subsection 13 says about rotation. So rotation is not applicable for independent directors. Section 152 subsection 6 and section 152 subsection 7 deals with rotation. Here we have to note that SEBI LODR regulation 25, which says that a person cannot become an ID in more than 7 listed entities. Here we have to note that it is only listed entities. Non-listed entities are not applicable here. There is a proviso which says that if he is a whole-time director, then he can be ID only in 3 listed entities. Earlier it was 7 listed entities. Now in the proviso, if he is a whole-time director, then it is 3 listed entities. The LODR also says one meeting of independent director is mandatory. It has to happen in the absence of non-independent director and it has to take place once in every financial year. Earlier it was current year and then later amended in Schedule 4. The independent director meeting does the following functions. First, it reviews the performances of non-independent director, board, the chairperson and the non-executive directors. Secondly, it reviews quality, quantity and timeliness of flow of information between management and the board. And finally, the independent director reviews the whole performance of the board. Next topic that the LODR touches is about the replacement if an independent director resigns. So what happens if an independent director resigns? We have to appoint another independent director in the next board meeting or within 3 months from the date of vacancy, whichever is later. Let us take an example. If a company holds a board meeting on 1/4/2018, and the independent director resigns on 2/4/2018. Now we have to consider 2 dates. Which are the 2 dates? One will be within 3 months from the date of vacancy or the next board meeting. So within 3 months would be 2/7/2018. And when should the next board meetings be held? It should be held within 120 days from the first board meeting which we had, that is on 1/4/2018. So we have to hold the next board meeting by 28/8/2018. So we have 2 dates, that is 3 months, that is 2/7/2018 and 28/8/2018. So whichever is later means that is 28th August 2018. So by then we have to appoint another independent director. There is a proviso to this which states that every listed entity fulfills the requirement of ID in its board of director without filling the vacancy created by the resignation or removal, then the requirement of new ID is not applicable. Suppose if an ID is removed or if an ID resigns and the board constituency is fulfilled with the number of IDs, then what happens is requirement of new ID is not applicable in this particular case. The listed entity should familiarize the ID with the following. 1. The nature of the industry. Nature of the industry as in where the listed entity works. Then second, business model of the listed entity. Third, roles and responsibilities of an ID. And the fourth one, any other relevant information as required. With this we come to the end of part 3. We have divided section 149 in 3 parts. In the first part we dealt with section 149 subsection 1 to subsection 5. In the second part we dealt with the definition of independent director, that is subsection 6 of section 149. And this third part we dealt subsection 7 to subsection 13 of section 149. We have to note that subsection 4, subsection 5, subsection 6, subsection 7, subsection 8, subsection 9, subsection 10, subsection 11, clause 1 of subsection 12 and subsection 13 of section 149 is not applicable for section 8 companies. Hope this video is informative. If so, request you to please like, share and subscribe to my video. Also request you to please key in your valuable feedback for me to improvise on the same. Stay tuned until I come up with the next video. Thank you.